Senate will come to order. Mr. Schauffele, please call the roll.
Senators Amabile, Baisley, Ball,
Excuse.
Bridges, Bright, Carson, Catlin, Cutter,
Excuse.
Danielson, Doherty, Exum, Frizzell. Gonzalez. Hendrickson. Judah.
Excused.
Kipp. Kirkmeyer. Kirkmeyer.
Excused.
Colker. Liston. Lundeen. Marchman. Marchman.
Excused.
Michelson Genet. Mullica. Mullica.
Excused.
Pelton B. Pelton R. Rich. Roberts. Roberts.
Excused.
Rodriguez. Simpson. Snyder. Sullivan. Wiseman. Winter. Senate District 17 vacant. Mr. President.
Cutter.
Senator Cutter. Senate District 17 vacant. Mr. President.
Let's do this. The morning roll call is 28 present, 0 absent, 6 excused, and 1 vacant. We have a quorum. Senator Wiseman, would you also lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Indeed. Members, please join me in saying the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the journal. Senator Baisley.
Good morning, Mr. President.
Good morning.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate Journal of March 6th, 2025 be approved as corrected by the Secretary.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Wow. Even though the ayes have it, the motion is adopted. Senate Services.
Correctly engrossed Senate Bill 128 and 171. Correctly re-engrossed Senate Bill 141. Correctly revised House Bill 1029, 1114, 1131, and 1138.
Committee reports.
Committee on Health and Human Services. After consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. House Bill 1070 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation and with the recommendation that it be placed on the consent calendar. Committee on Health and Human Services. After consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. House Bill 1016 be amended as follows, and as so amended be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation and with the recommendation that it be placed on the consent calendar. Committee on Health and Human Services. After consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. House Bill 1063 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. Committee on Finance. After consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 173 be referred favorably to the Committee on Appropriations. Mr. President, the Committee on Agriculture and Natural Resources has had under consideration and has had a hearing on the following appointments and recommends that the appointments be placed on the consent calendar and confirmed. Members of the Colorado Water Conservation Board for terms expiring February 12, 2028. Taylor Hawes of Silverthorne, Colorado, to serve as a representative of the Colorado Drainage Basin, appointed. Greg Johnson of Denver, Colorado, to serve as a representative of the City and County of Denver, appointed. Mike Camblin of Maybell, Colorado, to serve as a representative of the Yampa White Drainage Basin, appointed. Committee on Local Government and Housing. After consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 184 be referred favorably to the Committee on Appropriations. Committee on Local Government and Housing. After consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. House Bill 1093 be amended as follows, and as so amended be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. Committee on Business, Labor, and Technology. After consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 160 be amended as follows, and as so amended be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. Committee on Business, Labor, and Technology. After consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 83 be amended as follows, and as so amended be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. Committee on Agriculture and Natural Resources. After consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 168 be amended as follows, and as amended be referred to the Committee on Appropriations with favorable recommendation. Committee on State Veterans and Military Affairs. After consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. House Bill 1025 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. Committee on State Veterans and Military Affairs, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. House Bill 1091 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation, and with a recommendation that it be placed on the consent calendar. Committee on State Veterans and Military Affairs, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. House Bill 1155 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation, and with a recommendation that it be placed on the consent calendar.
Please add Senator Kirkmeyer to the roll. I'm waiting for him to get into the well. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that the chamber proceed out of order to take up a moment of personal privilege.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. The Senate will proceed out of order to take up moments of personal privilege. Senator Coleman.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I request a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you. Members, this is Senator Coleman Tribute Day, so bear with me. Have a lot of people on the floor here, as you can see, so I'll start off with the Denver Zoo. The Senate of the Colorado Legislature convened in the first regular session of the 75th General Assembly hereby extends our warmest congratulations and commendation to Denver Zoo Conservation Alliance. As one of Colorado and the nation's oldest wildlife conservation organizations, the Denver Zoo Conservation Alliance is a champion for wildlife and wild places in Colorado and across the globe. The unwavering commitment to conservation is evident in their commitment to community engagement and field work, from protecting endangered species in their native habitats to empowering local communities to become standards and stewards of their own natural resources. The Alliance's impact resonates far beyond the boundaries of the zoo. On this Zoo Day, we celebrate the Denver Zoo Conservation Alliance and its tireless work to protect wildlife. By welcoming more than 1.5 million guests to the zoo each year, they inspire us all to become more engaged in protecting the natural world, reminding us that small actions can contribute to a larger movement of positive change. We are proud to recognize the Alliance's invaluable contributions to Colorado and reaffirm our support for their vital mission-inspiring communities to save wildlife for their future generations. On request of all of us this day, please join me in recognizing the zoo here today for Colorado. That's it. That's it.
Senator Coleman.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I request another moment of personal privilege.
Another moment is granted.
All right. Members, the Senate of the Colorado Legislature convened this first regular session of the 75th General Assembly hereby extends our warmest congratulations and commendation to Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, Denver Alumni Chapter, Colorado Springs Alumni Chapter, Omicron Zeta Chapter, and Omicron Pi Chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated was founded on January 5, 1911 on the campus of Indiana University at Bloomington, located in Bloomington, Indiana, by 10 college-educated men. The vision of our founders was to sow the seed of a fraternal tree whose fruit is available to and now enjoyed by college and professional men everywhere, regardless of their color, religion, or national origin. Currently, the fraternity has over 160,000 members within 721 chapters across the U.S. and internationally. Locally, the Denver Alumni Chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi has implemented programs to honor their founders' vision. They have implemented programs such as the Guide Right and Kappa League programs that provide mentorship for over 60 school-age students, launch physical and mental health awareness initiatives, as well as provide holiday meals yearly for families in need. In addition, their Kappa Foundation has provided more than $2 million in program development and college scholarships over the past 51 years for over 1,000 graduating seniors within the Denver metro area. The chapter also currently provides over 100 units of affordable senior housing at both Kappa Tower 1 and Kappa Tower 2. We honor Kappa Alpha Psi Day at the Colorado State Capitol in recognition of the fraternity's tremendous impact across our centennial state of Colorado and the United States worldwide. We have the gentleman of Kappa Alpha Psi here to my left, your right. I'd like to acknowledge Brandon Bruce, our polemarch, Lance Alexander, Vice Polemarch, Tracy Taylor, Foundation, Martin Tatum, KOE, and Malcolm Reed, Senior Kappa Chair, 50-year Kappas, David Armstead, Eula Adams, and Carl Dixon. Thank you all for joining us today.
Senator Coleman.
Okay, I think this is it. Let's do this. Thank you very much, Mr. Minority Leader. Madam President, I request another moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Members, the South Suburban Denver chapter of Jack and Jill of America, Inc., as well as Denver, as well as Greater Pikes Peak chapters, which make up the Colorado constituency of Jack and Jill of America, Inc., an organization are committed to empowering youth leaders and strengthening families through civic engagement, leadership development, and community service. For 87 years, Jack and Jill of America has been dedicated to preparing the next generation for success by providing young people with cultural, social, and civic experiences that build leadership and character. With its national headquarters in Washington, D.C., Jack and Jill remains a powerful force for advocacy, ensuring that all children, regardless of background, have the opportunity to lead, serve, and contribute to their communities. Today, we proudly recognize the Central Region Secretary, Joanna Bowie Pruitt, serving 7 states, known as the Heart of Jack and Jill, and the host chapter, South Suburban Denver of Jack and Jill America, which has been shaping young leaders in Colorado for over four decades. Chartered in 1980, the chapter was created to serve families in the Denver metro area by fostering youth leadership, civic responsibility, and community engagement. Through our commitment to service, mentorship, and advocacy, they continue to make a meaningful impact on children, families, and communities across our state. Please join me in welcoming them to our chamber. Please stand to be recognized. Thank you very much, Madam President.
Please add Senators Mullica and Roberts to the roll. Senator Catlin.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise for a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you, ma'am. Hang on a minute. Colleagues, I'm down here this morning. I'd like to welcome the Colorado Optometrics Association to the chamber today. Colleagues, many of your local eye doctors are here today, and I hope you will take a moment to say hello and look them in the eye. These doctors are providing critical eye care in our communities and in your communities and are vital to Colorado's overall quality of care. So thank you to our state's eye doctors. And if you can see your way clear, say hello to them for me. Thank you.
No further recognitions. Nope. Third reading of bills, consent calendar. Mr. Schaffler, please read the titles of all the bills on the consent calendar.
House Bill 1131 by Representatives Basnicker and Johnson and Senators Kipp and Pelton B concerning eliminating certain conditions related to Colorado State University's veterinary medicine program. Senate Bill 171 by Senators Hendrickson and Representatives Soper and Clifford concerning the continuation of the Commodity Metals Theft Task Force and in connection therewith implementing the recommendation contained in the 2024 Sunset Review by the Department of Regulatory Agencies to repeal the Commodity Metals Theft Task Force. House Bill 1138 by Representatives Lukens and Puglisi and Senators Kirkmeyer and Doherty concerning evidentiary requirements to protect victims of sexual misconduct in civil suits.
Majority Leader Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the passage of all the bills on third reading of bills, final passage consent calendar, which are House Bill 1131, Senate Bill 171, and House Bill 1138.
Any discussion on any of the bills? Seeing none, the motion is the passage of all the bills on the third reading of the bills consent calendar. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 31 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 3 excused, and 1 vacant, House Bill 1131 is passed. Co-sponsors, Senators Roberts, Bridges, Winter, Cutter, Michelson, Janae, Carson, Catlin, Liston, Frizzell, Pelton R., Kirkmeyer, with a vote of 31 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 3 excused, and 1 vacant. Senate Bill 171 is passed. Co-sponsors. With a vote of 31 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 3 excused, and 1 vacant, House Bill 1138 is passed. Co-sponsors, Senators Exum, Roberts, Weissman, Bridges, Pelton B, Mr. Minority Leader, Mr. Majority Leader, Michelson Janae, Simpson, Bright, Carson, please add the president. Third reading of bills. Final passage. Mr. Schauffler, please read the title of House Bill, Senate Bill 128.
Senate Bill 128 by Senators Pelton B. and Roberts and Representatives McCormick and Winter concerning repealing certain provisions that prohibit an employer from interfering with an agricultural employee's access to service providers, and in connection therewith repealing provisions that prohibit an employer from interfering with an agricultural employee's access to service providers on private land.
Senator Pelton B.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move Senate Bill 128 for third reading and final passage.
Any discussion? There is discussion. Senator Danielson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, colleagues. I just wanted to say a few words about Senate Bill 128. For those of you who don't know me that well, I represent Jefferson County, but I grew up on a farm in Weld County, and I'm the fourth generation of my family to live on that farm. The three that preceded me farmed and raised livestock. So, you know, when I went forward with the Farm Workers' Bill of Rights back in 2021, it was out of a great deal of respect for the industry and those who are part of it. I was part of it for a really long time. But we needed to put some basic human rights in place for the people who drive that part of our economy. It was the first time that these workers enjoyed the same human rights that we did and every other profession apart from domestic workers in terms of overtime, minimum wage, protection from retaliation, that kind of thing. We did build in some extra protections around these workers: food, water, shade, housing standards, access to workers for critical service provisions. So the reason I bring it up is because for those who weren't here, the debate was around, mainly around workers who resided on the farms that they worked on. So the property owners also have housing for these workers, employer-provided housing. That's how my family was, too. But part of that was acknowledging that many farm workers do not have transportation and also have very inflexible work hours. That is part of the nature of the industry. And so we built into that original law the ability for these key service providers, narrowly defined, to access the workers, meaning workers who needed food and clothing distribution or health care provision or legal support, that kind of thing, acknowledging that sometimes they need to come to the property to get that care to those workers. As introduced, Senate Bill 128 did strike a lot of those critical protections altogether for the key service providers. Again, meaning at this time when these workers are very, very vulnerable, the legislation would have robbed them of some of these basic rights to this health care or legal support, et cetera. But like I said on second reading, I really commend the sponsors because they worked with the workers, they listened to the concerns of the community, they listened to the service providers, they listened to some of those promotoras, for example, and others that do this work, and then amended the bill through the process to address the bulk of the concerns that are out there. And I wanted to bring it up again to commend them because they acknowledged these problems and they amended the bill and they really tried to make it right. And although the sponsors and others believe that this is constitutionally necessary, as they described in the second reading debate. I personally do not believe that this legislation is necessary, and although they have really narrowed the scope and tried very, very hard to alleviate the concerns of the community, I still see that there is a potential for harm here, and that we are removing some critical protections for these workers. Should the bill pass, which I think it will, I just want to recognize that we must then be really mindful in its implementation. And I also want to acknowledge the good senator from Frisco in his remarks and his fears that maybe the courts would have gone further to remove even more protections. My feeling is that we could have let that play out in the courts, and so it's all right. We have a different point of view, but I really want to acknowledge both of their attempts to alleviate some of these concerns. But when key services like healthcare and legal protection, food distribution, or others, if we're seeing evidence that some of this is starting to be denied to these workers, where even in the narrow version of this bill, when it's implemented, that's when we're going to have to revisit it, or hopefully it doesn't happen. But I think we just really need to be mindful going forward of some of the potential negative impacts that it may have on the workers all across the state. We're just in a time where I think my obligation to my district and workers all across the state is to err on the side of protections. And while I acknowledge and thank the sponsors for their extensive work with the folks that represent the workers, the community, the service providers, the legal teams that actually have to kind of take care of this business when it does go wrong, I really, really acknowledge their work there. It went a very, very long way. And like I said on second reading, that is actually how this is supposed to go. But even given those changes, I still feel that it opens up these workers to some vulnerabilities that I'm not comfortable with. And for that reason, I will continue to be a no vote on Senate Bill 128. Thank you, colleagues, for your time this morning. Thank you, Mr. President.
Welcome. Further discussion. Senator Weissman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, I've thought about this a lot. I am going to land on a respectful no, and I thought I should explain why. For me, this issue arises out of two very long-running threads in our country that have collided in here in the last couple of years. One is the jurisprudence of regulatory takings. It goes back, in my reading, at least to the 1920s, at the U.S. Supreme Court, and the other is the plight of agricultural workers in our country, the people who help feed us, which has been pretty fraught for a lot of our history. I was not in the committee that heard this bill, nor was I on the predicate bill in 21, SB 2187. We had a Supreme Court case relatively recently, Cedar Point Nursery, that was another installment in the U.S. Supreme Court grappling with the question of what constitutes or does not constitute a regulatory taking. That case really turned on the right to exclude as a necessary part of what we call the bundle of sticks of property rights, and said that where legislation, in that case California legislation, invades the right to exclude, then you have committed a regulatory taking. Whatever one thinks about that holding aside, it is the law of the land, and we need to not have statutory law or regulations that are in violation of that. And if I were convinced that the bill as before us was no broader than the holding, I'd vote yes, because we all have to do our part to make sure that our laws are in conformity with what the Supreme Court has handed down in terms of constitutional interpretation. I really, really appreciate the work that was done previously in committee by the sponsors to tighten this up. I did think that the introduced went well beyond what was necessary to respond to the holding in Cedar Point Nursery. I think the bill as it comes before us now in the engrossed posture is a whole lot better. And I'm grateful for the changes that have brought that to being. Again, I personally want to support something that I'm convinced is no broader than necessary for the holding, because anything past that to me is a policy choice. And my policy choice is to afford protections to agricultural workers to the extent that we're allowed to by the Supreme Court. So I really look at the definition of employer's property on page 4 of the engrossed, which speaks not just to a right to exclude, but also to ownership or possessory interests in a disjunctive way. And I did talk with one of the sponsors last night and had some back and forth with the representative of the Farm Bureau. I'm not yet convinced that those other property interests that are alluded to might not be in the rather deep body of law that is property law, possibly broader than simply the right to exclude, as alluded to in the Cedar Point Nursery case. That definitional reason is why I'm not able to support today, but I very much appreciate the constitutional backdrop of all of this, and I'm grateful that the sponsors have put it into a better place for us to consider on third reading. Thank you.
Further discussion? Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, want to thank the good senators from Wheat Ridge and Aurora for their comments and their respectful dialogue on this bill. I just wanted to lay a little bit of legislative record and repeat a little bit of what I said on second reading yesterday for those that weren't listening. Even the introduced version of the bill, which has now been heavily amended, does not touch subsection A of this statute at all. Subsection A is the subsection that guarantees key service providers can enter employee housing at any time on the employer's property, or temporary housing for range workers or other types of transient employment activities. So I just want to make clear this does not impact key service providers' access to any kind of housing for ag workers. The provision of health care is also listed in this statute in subsection D. That requires employers to transport their employees at least once a week to health care. That is not impacted by the bill at all. There was never an intention to impact either the housing or the health care provisions of the original statute, and they are not. And in fact, through the amendments we made during committee and on the floor yesterday, we have guaranteed access to virtual health care on the employer's property for ag workers. And so that's explicitly in the text of the statute now if this bill becomes law. That wasn't in the original 2021 legislation. You know, I said this yesterday, the good senator from Sterling and I are not here celebrating this as a major legislative achievement or a bill to be excited about. This is a bill about doing our constitutional responsibility as legislators to respond to what the courts tell us about our laws and laws across the country. And this is responding to a U.S. Supreme Court decision that was much more broad than the question that got sent up to the Supreme Court, but one that can be fixed, and I believe is a narrowly tailored fix through Senate Bill 128 that will still provide very important protections to ag workers. A bill that, again, that I voted for in 2021, but one, because of that Supreme Court case, has now caused confusion and concern in the ag industry on both the employer and the employee side. And the good senator from Sterling and I, serving on the Agriculture Committee, and in his experience in agriculture, both of us representing many ag producers, feel that this very clear response and narrowly tailored fix is the right way forward for both the employers and the employees in agriculture, and will avoid a lot of unintended consequences if this had to work its way through the court system. So with that, I would respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion is the passage of Senate Bill 128. Are there any no votes? Senators Danielson, Weissman, Cutter, Colker, Sullivan, Winter. With a vote of 25 ayes, 6 noes, 0 absent, 3 excused, and 1 vacant, Senate Bill 128 is passed. Co-sponsors, Senators, Mr. Minority Leader Simpson, Frizzell, Catlin, Liston, Baisley, Rich, Pelton R., Carson, Bright, Kirkmeyer, Exum, Amabile. Mr. Schaffler, please read the title of House Bill 1114.
House Bill 1114 by Representatives Carter and Espinosa and Senators Gonzalez and Weissman concerning allowing the defense to review a tangible object in preparation for a criminal trial.
Senator Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move House Bill 1114 on third reading and final passage. Ask for an aye vote.
Discussion. There is discussion. Senator Weissman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, you may be wondering what I'm doing up here. I thought I would just explain that briefly. One of the House Prime sponsors of 1114, Rep. Carter, is actually my direct successor. Weeks ago, he invited me to join Senator Gonzalez to be one of the Senate primes of this. Something slipped up in terms of the paperwork. I was not printed on the bill when it read over in the Senate. Out of respect for the process, I have stood back, did not co-present the bill in committee, was not down here yesterday. The process caught up, so here I am. I supported this in committee. I'm urging a yes vote today for the reasons that we've discussed at great length. This is not really a bill on one side or the other of the great divide in criminal justice matters. This is a bill, to me, about the overall integrity of the system, so that both sides have the right to inspect evidence, put on the best case on behalf of their client, whether the defendant or the state, that they can. That's how the system is supposed to work. I'm asking for a yes vote. Thank you.
Mr. Minority Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. We had substantial debate on this bill yesterday, but it was not enough. So I did some additional research, had a couple additional conversations, and have re-evaluated the unofficial pre-amended version of the bill. When you look at the unofficial pre-amended version of the bill, you discover there are more amendments than bill in this bill at this point. The conversations I had were with the Colorado Department of Public Safety, and they assured me not only can they do this within the existing resources as this bill has been amended to, but I've told them and encouraged them to mind their budget carefully, that we are in a stingy moment in our budget life, and this will be challenging should they have needs. So it is with that additional research and work that I've done after the second reading debate that I want to thank the sponsors for the work they have done and add my voice and vote to a defense review bill that I think is good in its current form. I am a yes vote. Thank you for the work, sponsors, both of you.
Further discussion? Seeing none, the motion is the passage of House Bill 1114. Are there any no votes? Senators Baisley, Rich, Liston, Pelton R., Carson, Bright, Pelton B., Kirkmeyer. With a vote of 23 ayes, 8 noes, 0 absent, 3 excused, and 1 vacant, House Bill 1114 is passed. Co-sponsors, Senators Henriksen, Winter, Sullivan, Michelson, Janae, Amabile, Exum. Mr. Schaffler, please read the title of House Bill 1029.
Give you support.
House Bill 1029 by Representatives Basnicker and Senators Kipp and Liston concerning the scope of municipal authority over land that a municipality acquires that is outside its municipal limits.
Senator Kipp.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move HB 1029 on third reading and final passage.
Any discussion? Seeing none, the motion is the passage of House Bill 1029. Are there any no votes? Senators, Mr. Minority Leader, Simpson, Frizzell, Catlin, Baisley, Rich, Pelton R., Carson, Bright, Kirkmeyer, Pelton B., Roberts. With a vote of 19 ayes, 12 noes, 0 absent, 3 excused, and 1 vacant, House Bill 1029 is passed. Co-sponsors. General orders. Co-sponsor to 1029, Senator Winter. General orders, second reading of bills. Senator Kipp. Senator Kipp.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate resolve itself into the committee of the whole for consideration of general orders, second reading of bills.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. The Senate will resolve itself in committee of the whole for consideration of general orders, second reading of the bills. Senator Kipp will take the chair.
You guys ready? The committee will come to order, and the coat rule is most definitely relaxed. Will the clerk please read the title to HB 1035?
House Bill 1035 by Representative Pascal and Senator Weissman concerning changes to the Collaborative Management Program.
Senator Wiseman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1035 and the committee report from HHS.
Thank you. To the committee report.
Members in the committee, we adopted an amendment to fix some inartful drafting that came over to us from the House and clarify that release of records created by any individual service and support team or ISST is governed by existing law and is not meant to be enlarged or contracted. I ask for your support on the committee report.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on the Health and Human Services Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Health and Services Committee report. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The Health and Human Services Committee report is adopted. Please tell us about your bill, Senator Wiseman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, 1035 is really a cleanup bill that does two small things. One, we update an out-of-date definition or statutory cross-reference. We are now citing to a managed care entity as an entity that can participate in a collaborative management plan. Managed service organization and the cite to Title 27 is no longer accurate given other work we've done around here. Probably more critically, we fixed an access to records issue that was inadvertently created by legislation dating to 2 years ago. Courts have always been intended to be part of a collaborative management plan. They were inadvertently cut out of that loop by legislation in 2023. The latter part of this bill fixes that by putting them back into the list of entities authorized to have access to records, again, in a way that is no broader than existing law. We ask for your support.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on HB 1035? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of HB 1035. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it. 1035 is adopted. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the committee rise and report.
Thank you. The motion is that the committee rise and report. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. Committee will rise and report. Didn't read anything.
The Senate will come to order. Senator Kipp.
Thank you, Madam President. The committee has met and had a bill under consideration. Will the clerk please read the report?
March 7, 2025. Madam President, your committee of the whole begs leave to report it has had under consideration the following attached bills, being the second reading thereof, and makes the following recommendations thereon. House Bill 1035, as amended, passed on second reading and ordered revised and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage.
Senator Kipp.
Thank you, Madam President. I move the report.
The motion is the adoption of the committee of the whole report. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 31 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 3 excused, and 1 vacant, the committee of the whole report is adopted. HB 25-1035 as amended passed on second reading and ordered revised and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Governor's appointments, consent calendar.
Members of the Securities Board, for terms expiring July 1st, 2026, Philip McDermott of Highlands Ranch, Colorado, to serve as an individual who is licensed by the State Supreme Court to practice law in the state of Colorado and who is conversant in securities law, reappointed. Nicholas Budor of Eagle, Colorado, to serve as a member of the public at large residing west of the Continental Divide, reappointed.
Majority Leader Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for the passage of all the appointments on the consideration of governor appointments consent calendar, which is Philip McDermott of Highlands Ranch and Nicholas Bedore of Eagle for the Securities Board.
Is there any discussion? The motion is the confirmation of the appointments on the consent calendar. Are there any no votes on the consent calendar? With a vote of 31 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 3 excused, and 1 vacant, those appointments are confirmed. Announcements. Committee reports.
Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 199 be amended as follows, and as so amended be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 81 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 147 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation and with the recommendation that it be placed on the consent calendar. Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 183 be amended as follows, and as so amended be referred to the Committee of the Whole with a favorable recommendation. Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 188 be amended as follows, and as so amended be referred to the Committee of the Whole with a favorable recommendation.
Announcements. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, colleagues. We will be recessing as we'll be reading some bills across the desk. Thank you for the work today. On that note, Madam President, I move that the committee, the chamber recess until 11:30 a.m. today.
Thank you. You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the Senate will stand in recess until 11:30 today.